Hello, Excel academicians. Welcome back to our tutorial on Spreadsheet. Today, we are going to explore test extracting functions and a date function. To do that, we are going to look at a particular question. But before that, let's look at the learning intentions for today. We are going to identify the different test extracting functions, such as left, right, mid, search, find, and test. We are going to look at how these functions help us solve a particular problem. And in the question, we're also going to look at the date function. Let's explore the syntax for each of the functions that we are going to look at. The left function has two parameters, the tests and number of characters. The number of characters is optional, meaning you can decide to call it or not. However, by default, it is always 1. So even if you don't use that parameter, 1 will be entered as default. The right function extracts characters from the right of a string. It also has the same parameters as the left. If you ignore the number of characters, it also returns 1 from the right of a string that you are calling. The mid function has 3 parameters: text, start number, and number of characters. The mid function can start from anywhere, either from the right of the string or the left of the string or anything in between. The number of characters specifies the number of the tests that you want to remove from the string. Then we have the text function, which has 2 parameters, value and format. We'll see how essential this function is and how it's able to format any value that you provide it. And then the date function has the year, month, and day parameters. These parameters are in that order, starting from the year and the month. So to practice these functions, we are going to look at this question. This is summer of 2018, and the question paper has a number of test extracting functions, and that's what we are going to explore. So the question says, you work for the Bank of Tawara. The bank sent all spreadsheets containing recent transactions in an encrypted form. You will decrypt a spreadsheet which holds 76 transactions over a 5-day period for one client. Each transaction on the completed spreadsheet must display only the date, bank sort code, account number, credit, and debit columns. You must use the most efficient methods, and all work must be of professional standard and suits the business context. All documents must fit on a single portrait page wide when printed on an A4 paper with a text at least 12 points high. Display all currency values in dollars with 2 decimal places. I've explained why it is important to read the preamble even before you move on with the rest of the question. Using a suitable spreadsheet software, open and examine the data in the file 186 encrypted.csv. Save this as a spreadsheet called decrypt, followed by your center number and candidate number, as so. Insert 4 new rows at the top of the spreadsheet and place the content of 186 title.csv into the cells B2 to L3. Merge cells B2 to L2 into a single cell formatted as a title in at least a 24-point sans serif font. So let's look at that. I have the 2 files here, this and then the encrypted. So it asked me, let me open it up a little bit. So the 4 new rows have been inserted. Now we can go and copy our content and paste it in B2. Paste values, open up our content. The whole of this is supposed to be merged to L2, and it should be 24 sans serif. Right. So let's go back to the question. The rest of the document, sorry, should be 12 points. We shall come to that and save it as decrypt. And make sure you change as Excel workbook as I have explained as always. Right. So now in the extraction of our tests, the first digit and place this in the transmitted check digit column. The next 6 digits and place this in the bank sort code column. For example, if the digits are 240912, the bank sort code will be displayed as 240912. Let's look at the first 2 bullet points. So the first digit should come to the transmitted check digit column. The first digit is the leftmost digit in the test. So we can use our left function. And as I said, if we don't call the next parameter, which is the number of characters, it will by default return the first character, as you have seen over here. But let's go ahead and do that. Good. And then the bank sort code, which is supposed to be in 2 characters, each separated by a dash. Mind you that because we have extracted the first character, this one will be starting from the second character and will end at the 7th because the second character plus 6, the second character included, will end at the 7th character. So equal to, and because we are extracting from the second character, we cannot use the left function. Mid, this character, I'm extracting from number 2 and 2 characters. I will use the ampersand and I'll show you a different way that this can be solved. The ampersand is equally used for concatenation. Good. So in here, after extracting from the second character, so the second and the third characters, I separate it with an ampersand, which will concatenate this string that will be extracted with the dash. And then there is another and, which will also concatenate what we have with this, and it moves on like that. So we have our bank sort code nicely displayed. As I said, you could also use the concat to solve the same problem. So mid, let me call my concat. This test back to my concat. So the next test will be the dash, and then I can move on and on. So let me just copy this. So that'll be 4 and 2. The next one is a dash. The next one will be 6 and 2. So I have the same output over here. So the concat is also one that you can use to put a couple of strings together. And as we have seen here with the ampersand, it's giving me the same output. The next question says, after we have done the bank sort code, which is now giving us ending at the 7th character, the next 9 digits, and display these as a 9-digit account number. The next 8 digits, and display these in the date digits column. So account number is here, equal to mid. Start at the 8 and extract the 9 characters from. Then the date, the mid to extract the date. So I'll start at 17, and that is 8 characters. Good. Then the next character, and display this at the transaction code. And this is currently at the 25th position. Equals mid. '25th. So far, and it's only one character that we're extracting. So far, we are at the 25th position. The next says that any other digits, and place this in the working to column. If you look at the data in here, you realize the length of each of these encrypted string is not the same, and it is mostly changing after the character, the 25th character that we have extracted. So to get the rest of the characters, which is supposed to be in working 2, we use the mid function for this test. We are starting on the 26th character, right? But the rest of the characters left, let's use length to calculate the entire length of this string minus 25, because at the 25th character, we know the rest of the characters behind it. So all other characters will help us, the length minus 25 will help us to calculate all other characters that are left in the string. So we can close it, and we have our value nicely placed over there. Good. Place a formula in column C to display the date of each transaction. The date is held in column B as digit in the form DDMMYYY. Display this they do that so that if the cell in column B contains 12/01/2018, the date should be displayed as 12 January 2018. And you can see here the date is in the correct order here. So to do that, there are 2 ways that we can do that. I want to explore using the test function. But before that, let me use the date. So date, or my function. So to use the year, it is this test. and the year is starting at the 5th position, and I'm extracting 4 characters. So my 2018 shows nicely. I'm not done with my date function, so I'll go back. To extract the month, I'll use a mid as well. Go into it, extract this tests, and it is starting at the 3rd, and we're extracting 2 characters. 01 shows nicely. Go back to my date, and here I can use left, even though I can also use mid. So the left of this of the date they get, and I'm extracting 2 characters out of it. Now you see my date has been created nicely. Then I'll go out of it and use my test function to format the date. So as we saw in the presentation, the test function has 2 parameters, value and format. So the format now will be dd mmmmm and then yyy. If you are typing it in, make sure your format is in quotation marks. If you are typing in the format, make sure it is in quotes, as compared to if you are doing it in the function argument dialog box. After typing it in, anywhere I click, it will automatically assign it for me. Now, my date is in that format that they have asked me to. So, we have seen the use of the text extracting functions left, mid, and for now, we've not seen the use of the right. So let's go on. Place a formula in the calculated check digit column to extract a single digit checksum by adding all the digits in the account number column and extracting the last digit from the total. There are 2 ways again that we can do this. One is to use just the sum, or by adding the values. We need to extract each of these characters one after the other and add it to each other. So one way to do that is to use the addition of the values. So I will extract the first character, and then I will add it to the second character. 2, 1. So to make my distance quicker, I'll copy this up to the 9th character. 3, 1. 4, 1. Good. So now I have done up to the 8th character. For the 9th character, and because the 9th character is on the right of the account number, I can just do extract it using the right function. So we have all the characters from here added to each other, and you have the output here nicely. As I said, you could also use the sum and extract each character in the sum function. You know, the sum function takes up values. Then it says that we should extract the last character. So once again, I'll use the right function to extract the last character of the addition that we have created. So we have 8. Mind you, these values are both test outputs. And you know that in spreadsheet, if a value is aligned to the left of the cell, then it means it's a test value. Because this is calculated, if we want to make it a number, we can put it inside value as a function, and it will now be a number. Take note, there are some questions where whatever you extract, because it's a test function, becomes a string. To change it to a value so that you can compare it to another value, you can use the value function, or you can multiply the string value by 1, and it will also give you a number. Okay, let's go back to the question. Place a formula in working 1 column to compare the transmitted and the calculated check digits. If the two data items for each transaction do not match, indicate that there is an error. Test the formula for each transaction and correct the transmitted check digit for that row. So it's as simple as creating an if. If this value is the same as this value, then there is nothing wrong. Other than that, we'll show error. This is a very simple if function. Good. So because this value is the same as this value, now look, if this was not converted to a number, and you see that it is comparing a number to a string and it's saying they are not the same, so it gives you the error. Okay, and that is why it is important that you may have to convert string output into a number. Let me duplicate all of the functions that we have created so far so that we have these values. So now I can duplicate these ones. So if I move down, you can see there is an error because the transmitted check digit is not the same as the calculated check digit. And we can correct it manually, but it is not a very good thing. That is what the question requires of us. This is not a very good method of making sure that the data transmitted is the same as what is received. In your chapter 1, you looked at a number of um, validation and uh, various ways of making sure data that is transmitted through a network is accurate. And it is not good that you manually correct errors of that nature. Quickly, let's look at the rest of the question. So here we can correct it manually, but as I said, it's not the most efficient method. Automatically display the value of each transaction in either the credit or the debit column. The transaction column must be used, and the value held in working 2 column is the value of each transaction in cents. There are 100 cents in a dollar. The letters C and D in the transaction column represent credit and debit. So here, if it is a C, it's going into the credit column. If it is a D, it's going into the debit column. When there is a value in the credit column, there should be no value in the debit column. Simply, that's what is required. So if this is equal to a C, then we should show this value divided by 100. Other than that, it should be blank. Okay, so I'll copy my formula and place it in here. The only thing I'll change is here, making it a D. And clearly that is blank, so I can duplicate them. Now, as you can see over here, if there is no value in the credit, there is a value in the debit. In the question, they told us that in the preamble, we should format all currency values as dollars with 2 decimal places. Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, in this tutorial, we have looked at a number of test extracting functions. Mind you, what we have seen are the barest use of these functions. There are situations where you will need to go the extra mile, think beyond the box, and look at how you can combine these functions that we have seen to solve a particular problem. I would be happy if you can look at the um, this question. It also has some text extracting functions. Try it on your own. See how you can use the text extracting functions and the date functions to solve this problem. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. I'm sure you'll be here to watch the next video. I'll see you in the next video. Please remember to subscribe.